Good evening. Please take your seats. We are going to have a good time because the future is here. Like my granddaughter would say, the future is here with you. I'm so happy to see you. You look beautiful, handsome. You look inspired. You look energized. You look like you're raring to go. And I'm happy to associate with you as you set out to serve the public. Allow me to congratulate you for being the first cohort of this program, this great program of Emerging Leaders Fellowship, and really to applaud the organizers who have put together this wonderful program. To me, it's really transformative as it is aimed at reinvigorating and reimagining the spirit and ethos of the public service, not only for our country, but also for the continent. And thank you, Chairman, for reminding them they are not just going to be leaders here in Kenya. They are going to be regional and global leaders. They are going to be captains of the industries in the private sector. They are going to be politicians. They are going to be heads of institutions. You are going to be everything. Because if we were to sit here longer, I and Commissioner Mary can tell you a story that can really inspire you of where we came from. From the village, from peasantry families. We were not privileged to go to, do I hear them call them group of schools? We went to what used to be Arambe Secondary School. The one that is built by the parents when the children could not go to those Kagangaos, because every time I meet people, they ask me, oh, we were together with you in Kagangaos. It was not me, it was my sister. Because I was not good enough to go to Kagangaos, I went to Chukangaos. It used to be Chuka Commercial. And there the orientation is that you'll be taught secretarial, you'll be taught, I think it's basically secretariat. We used to be taught typing, shorthand, and even some accounts. You could get some training in accounts. You could be a bookkeeper. But we were seeing far. And I, for sure, when my friend here went to Form 5, because she was a few classes ahead of me, I decided I would also go to Form 5. Because if she went, it was possible for me to go. So now that you are seeing them here as head of public service, what would stop you from getting what it is that you aim for? We live in a country full of opportunities. A country where if you work hard, you have faith, you don't even need a godfather or anybody. Because we are here as testament that you can actually rise from the trenches where we were, the trenches of poverty, the trenches of discrimination, the trenches of poverty and everything, and become whatever you want to be. And that's why I'm the Chief Justice today, that notwithstanding. So I'm very, very happy to spend this evening and also to thank the organizers for inviting me to speak and to engage with you fellows, because you represent the future of the public service in this country. Public service needs to be understood. And I think it is you people who will make it be understood. My first employer when I left law school was public service. I was employed at the Attorney General Chambers, State Law Office, official receiver. But my experience there was so bad, was so negative that I had to leave immediately. Otherwise, I was going to be sucked into habits that I did not imagine myself having come from where I came from, that I was coming to join the public service. I'll be so underemployed, and all I can do because I have time and is to get some other things to sell in the office. I said, if really I wanted to sell to hawk, then why did I have to leave that village, Kedio village? I could have started hawking straight away, isn't it? So I had a very bad experience, and that's why I'm very, very happy about this program, because it's giving you a different orientation, introducing you to the values and the ethos of public service, which we never got ourselves. So when I've been admiring my friend, Commissioner Mary, because she has been telling me about this program, she's so passionate about it. And I've been looking forward to coming and encouraging you and sharing my own experiences with you. So I'm delighted seeing young people taking up the idea of excellence in public service seriously. This reassures us that our future as a nation is in good hands, because it is in your hands. It also tells us that there is an awakening in our young people who appreciate that they have a role to play in participating in changing or transforming our nation. This nation belongs to us. We do not expect anybody to come from anywhere to come and help us. All the things that are not working, it is for us to fix them. Even if you see people coming from outside trying to see as if they are coming to help us, they cannot help us. We just have to help ourselves. I remember this was like my late mother's clarion call. She kept on telling me, you know, you have to depend on yourself. She was very worried because I got married very early, and she thought that will maybe become the end of me, you know. So she kept on telling me, you know, you got married early, you started giving birth to children. You should know those children, you are the one who will feed them. And if you get something from your husband, consider it a bonus. So that keeps ringing in my mind, because I keep telling myself, even in the judiciary, as we are crying, we don't have money, we don't have this, and we have these people we call partners. I'm like, even if we get something from them, it's a bonus. We have to find solutions for our own problems, ourselves, as Kenyans, as people working in the judiciary. So as the future intellectual and moral elite of our nation, that is who you are. It is important for you to come together and debate ideas for the future, including that of excellence in public service. In this way, you develop the requisite public spirit that can be harnessed to realize the potential of our nation. This country has a lot of potential, and one of the key potential is the public resource that we have, human resource that we have, and you are that human resource. I'm excited to be speaking to you on the topic that I was given, ethical and governance mechanisms in government. Because the idea of public service speaks to a motivation to act in the public interest or out of public duty. It is therefore expected that when you work in public service, you are very, very true north in all decisions, and work ought to be in pursuit of the common good and the duty to serve the public. Whatever that you are doing, ask yourself whether it is towards the common good of this nation, whether it is handing value to the person that you're supposed to be serving. When they come for service, and you're telling them, go, come next week. Like I went to immigration one time to ask for the renewal of the passport. I wasn't a judge then. I was just an ordinary person. And the officer there told me, come next week. And I was there last week. I had been told, come next week. So I asked him, next week has got 5 days. Which one do you want me to come? Because I was here last week. And for me to come here, I have sacrificed. I have left my work. I have come here in town, paid transport. I mean, so you look at the inconvenience that we cause people when we are rendering public service and ask yourself, if it were you, how would you like to be treated when you have gone for a service? Wouldn't you like to be treated with dignity? Wouldn't you like to be given that service quickly without a lot of bureaucracy? So that is what you will do for people out there. And that's what we call excellence in public service, which has 2 dimensions. There is technical performance and ethical conduct. As a public officer, you must not only do technical things correctly and professional things in a professional manner, but you also must do ethically correct things. In your career journey, you will encounter ethical dilemmas. The question is whether you will be ready for them when you are confronted. You need to know these pitfalls. There are some things that you are tempted to do as a public officer that really have no sustainability. They are just coming to cut your career short. They are just coming to nip your professional life in the bud because they are not meant to take you anywhere. Somebody coming to give you a bribe, it is useless because it will not even help you. It will just be messing your career. When we think about ethics in public service in Kenya, the starting point ought to be the kind of public service that is imagined in our 2010 Constitution, which embodies a new awareness that ethics in public service is crucial for the success of our institutions. Starting with Article 10 on the national values and principles of governance to Chapter 6, the principles of leadership and integrity, Chapter 13 on public service, the Constitution creates a value-based system that demands that state officers and public officers embrace and adhere to ethical standards in their conduct. These values, dear fellows, and principles demand fundamental recasting of the ethical framework within which public officers work. I will also take this opportunity to discuss the provisions of Article 232 of the Constitution that articulate the values and principles of public service. Because the Constitution imagines that we borrow from the political scientist and historian by the name Benedict Anderson, who is famed because he wrote a book in 1983 which is titled Imagined Communities, a public service that puts the public interest first, where integrity, propriety, impartiality reigns, where meritocracy thrives, and that innovates to ensure high-quality service delivery. It ought to always be borne in mind that Kenyans decided to transform the government of our country through law-based processes. This informed the inducement of a large number of reforms, including those in public service, through the 2010 Constitution, Therefore, the law and the rule of law remain a core guiding light in this project of transformation of our government system. Whatever you do, you must always make sure it is within the law, because as a public officer, you are the promoters and protectors of the rule of law as well. Part of this reform package included a desire to change the value system of the public service. Kenyans felt that, to a large extent, the public service before the 2010 constitutional dispensation and embraced a value system in which public servants generally regarded public service as their private property. This frequently resulted in an abuse of power and the attitude that the state is superior to the people. It was also partly responsible for complaints regarding prevalence of corruption in public offices. Therefore, as public officers, I would urge you to always remember the ills and abuse of office and corruption were some of the unacceptable practices that the Constitution targets for rooting out of our public service. By seeking to reinvigorate ethical conduct in public service, Kenyans were alive to the negative effects of corruption in public institutions. And it is out of this appreciation of the requirement that we need to spur our economic and social growth that we have to count the costs of corruption. And once we do that, we realize that it is a practice that cannot be acceptable. And that is why the Constitution has taken so much space to discuss these ethos, these values of integrity, these principles of leadership, so that when you work as a public officer, they become your guiding light. I urge you to always bear in mind that in economic terms, corruption misdirects resources and discourages investment by the private sector. When you listen to investors speak, they have this language that it is very expensive to invest in Kenya because of the many instances where they will be asked to part with money that they had not planned for. And therefore the investment becomes very expensive. In an increasingly competitive global economy, our country cannot afford to lose these investments and the opportunities for employment of our young people due to corruption. You must also remember that corruption has a significant cost to our society. Sometimes when you read about corruption or listen to these cases about corruption, mega corruption, where so much money left our treasury, left our coffers, and people just walked away with the money. Sometimes I look at them, I'm like, where did they take that money? They don't look fat. Then I'm told they bought houses, they bought motor vehicles, but you can't sleep in two houses. You can't sleep on two beds at one time. You can't eat two plates of food. So some of this is really out of greed, and it's to put you in trouble. Because also, we have bodies like the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. We have Assets Recovery Agency. Those people are very busy recovering those ill-gotten properties. So it is worthless to take public money, go and buy a house, go and buy I don't know what, go and buy. We are busy now recovering those things and bringing them back to the public. So this is the cost that people need to know, that They used to say when we were growing up, I don't know whether, mkono wa serikali ni mrefu. It is true. It may not look it now, but what is going on now, I can assure you, will go on and will catch up with people who are involved in corrupt practices. Because corruption creates a culture of poverty and crime, deprives the neediest element of the society of the benefits of government resources. Goods intended for the poor are siphoned off for illicit purposes. For example, funds needed for programs to provide for transportation, schools, and medical care are misdirected to less socially beneficial ends. In effect, corruption makes it virtually impossible for the poor to lift themselves out of poverty. Furthermore, the political costs of corruption can really ruin the society. This is so because it saps away public confidence in our institutions, undermines our legitimacy, even those who are running institutions, and also discourages investors from coming to invest in our country. So, dear fellows, we also have codes of conduct at various public institutions where you will be working. We have statutes, and the Constitution envisages a two-pronged approach to enforcing ethical conduct. The first approach that the law adopts to respond to unethical conduct, like engaging in corrupt activities, is through prosecuting and punishing unethical conduct. The second approach is to prevent misconduct from occurring, and in the first place, encouraging public officers to embrace ethical conduct. And this is why I really round the Public Service Commission for coming up with this program. You certainly know that due to our various statutes, including the Penal Code, Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act, Bribery Act, if anybody engages in criminal activities, they are criminally liable for engaging in unethical conduct, like corrupt activities. But that is not all, because we have Chapter 6 of the Constitution that provides a conviction will also lead to loss of eligibility for appointment or election as a state or public officer for the rest of your life. So you really do not want to engage in these activities that will impact on your future. However, beyond criminal punishment and sanction for unethical conduct, I'm also a firm believer in nurturing and embracing the ethic of public service. This is the value-based approach, whose primary approach is fostering ethical values expected of a public officer. Rather than focusing on threats of sanctions or disciplinary measures, we ought to build a public service that fosters on ethical culture and nurtures an ethical mindset. Put differently, we should embrace a higher calling that is founded on ethical thinking and ethical behavior, and not the threat of legal sanctions. What this implies is that as public officers, you ought to appreciate that any decision or action that you take, a public officer, directly or indirectly, actually or potentially affects other people, and this has an ethical dimension and entails a duty to consider and protect their rights and interests. In addition, you have an obligation to the institution that you serve and to the people of Kenya to ethically manage their money, their time, their equipment, and the information that comes to your possession by virtue of your employment. We have a big problem when it comes to accountability, especially on the resources put in our hands. And resources are in many ways. They could be in money, they could be in time. And I've been spending a lot of time since I became CJ just talking to my officers about the time because we are judges. Basically, we don't deal with money. The money is dealt with by the chief registrar of the judiciary, but we deal with the time and other equipment that is put in our hands, but the majorly it is time. And I tell them, since you came to work and you must come to work because your letter of appointment says work starts at 8 and you must be at your place of work between 8 and 5. Since you came to work, you are not in your house. You are at the place of work. You must work. Because why did you come? Why would you come to waste time? You've been given a desk, you've been given a space. Why would you come to waste that space? Kupiga mdomo tu. Do you know that? There are people who just come to talk the whole day. By the time they are going home, their mouth is aching. But that's not beneficial to anybody, is it? It's not even beneficial to you because you'll go home with a aching mouth and then you'll be saying, I'm very tired because I woke up in the morning, I took a matatu, I went to work. So what did I do? I was there between 8 and 5. What did I do? What I did, who did it benefit? Who did it benefit? Nobody. So I wasted my time. And for those of us who are Christians, we know when we go before St. Peter's in heaven, we'll be asked, that day when you went to work and you did nothing, people came for service and they went away. You told them to go away and come next week. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And I'm happy this is what you are learning during this program. How not to waste public time. When you go to work, please work. Otherwise, if you don't want to work, then stay away. It's better if you sleep or you go and do other things. Like for me, I would love to cook for my husband. You know, if I am not at home, I went to work, then I better work. Because if I stayed home, at least I could cook a nice meal that would invite everybody home, you know. Even my husband who comes home late, he would like to come home early because then I have cooked. The wife has cooked, you know. The last time I cooked anyways, many years. But if I didn't go to work, I would really sit there and cook nice mukimo and everything. But now I'm working, so I go and work. So this ethic of public service that I'm urging you to embrace is in line with the overarching value of our Constitution. And I really want you to make that Constitution part of the tools that you will keep very close to you. It is a value system that reflects the fact that public officers discharge duties with ethical implications and are therefore subject to ethical principles. The offices that you own as public officer vest in you considerable power over policy and decision-making process, and therefore you are expected not to abuse that power. You should see yourself as owning a position of trust. I call this the most essential characteristic of the idea of public service that is envisaged in the Constitution. In conclusion, I hope I've painted in broad strokes the kind of ethical public service that is imagined in our Constitution. But we must remember that these values and principles are still rare and fragile in our context. It is up to you as the new cohort, the new generation of public officers, to go to work and lead the way to make the constitutional dream for an ethical public service a reality. I believe that it is possible to care and to care passionately. What I really admire about my friend, Dr. Commissioner Mary Muihandi, is her passion. When she started this program, she talks about nothing else but this program. So when she told me to come and speak to you, I was very busy. And my life is public, so you see me all over the place. And I wondered, how was I going to factor you in? But because of the passion that she speaks about this program, I said, even if it is at night, I will come and eat dinner with you. Or if it is breakfast, I will come and have breakfast with you, because I believe that she is infecting you with the same passion that she carries this program with. So I urge you to carry that passion with you in the public service, and I invite you to embrace this very same spirit that the commissioners have on this program and carry it forward. Because if you do so, we shall have the kind of public service that is truly imagined in our Constitution. However, having the Constitution articulate this dream of government ethics is just but a first step. They should not allow us into believing that the task ahead of inculcating these values to serve as the guiding light of our institutions will be easy. However, I have faith that you will serve as an inspiration and a beacon of light as to the values that should inform the public service. The most encouraging person, I think, in the public service is the chairman himself, who has worked all his life, beginning where you people have begun to where he is today. He never worked anywhere else. For us, we went into public service, 5 months, we left. He stayed. And look at him today. Somebody to celebrate. I believe that you are the change agents who will champion change in institutional culture in our public institution. The Public Service Emerging Leaders Fellowship should serve as a means to renew your resolve to embrace ethical conduct and lead the fight against corruption in public administration. As the next generation of leaders of public service, you are our role models who set example on the ideal public service to be emulated by your peers and others. You can be assured that your efforts will actually be a gift to our posterity. Allow me to stop there. It was really an honor for us to come and support the Public Service Commission. We value the work that you do there because you support us to be able to discharge our responsibility as the judiciary. Thank you.